Hello everyone and welcome to Season 2 of Releasing the Unreleased. Unreleased games are so interesting to me because of just how much you end up learning about video game development and the people within it. Last season we did a bunch of cancelled Sonic games, but this time, to coincide with the most recent retrospective on the channel, we will be looking at a bunch of cancelled Crash Bandicoot games. This week we will be looking at a game that would have been the fourth mainline Crash Bandicoot title, Crash Bandicoot Worlds. Starting its development in 1999, Crash Bandicoot Worlds would have been the first ever Crash Bandicoot game released on the PlayStation 2. If there's one thing Naughty Dog, as well as designer and ex-president of Universal Interactive Studios Mark Cerny, loved to do with Crash's story, it was to up the scope each time. Crash 1 took place in Australia, Crash 2 took place all over the Earth, Crash 3 took place all over time, Crash Team Racing had us fight with an intergalactic threat on Earth, and Crash Bandicoot Worlds would have seen Crash and his friends traveling to a bunch of different planets to fight off aliens. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot more info than that when it comes to the story of this game. We don't even really know how Cortex would factor into it, if even at all. What we do know is how this game would have played. Unlike the strict level-to-level structure that we've seen in all of the Crash games before it, Crash Bandicoot Worlds was gonna thrust our favorite marsupial into the next generation by giving him a full open world to explore. If you want an apt comparison, Crash Bandicoot Worlds would have played more like Crash Twinsanity. In Crash Twinsanity, you could explore each map to your heart's content. Here, you could find hidden items and puzzles in order to collect all of the gems within each area to unlock a bunch of stuff. It's easy to speculate that Crash Bandicoot Worlds would have worked the same sort of way. With how big Crash Bandicoot was, as well as open-world 3D platformers like Super Mario 64 and Spyro the Dragon, how come Crash Bandicoot's foray was slashed before it even had a chance? The story of why this game was cancelled starts with a man named Mark Cerny. If you watched my video on Crash 1, you've heard the name. In the mid to late 90s, Mark Cerny was the president of Universal Interactive Studios and was responsible for enlisting Naughty Dog to create Crash Bandicoot and Insomniac Games to create Spyro the Dragon. Mark Cerny had a very big hand in the design of every Crash game from Crash 1 to Crash Bash. Sometime in the late 90s, Mark Cerny stepped down as the president of Universal Interactive Studios to start his own development company, Cerny Games. Mark Cerny did this for a very specific reason. With the release of Crash Team Racing, Naughty Dog's contract with Universal Interactive Studios was officially expired, and Naughty Dog went on to become a main subsidiary of Sony, moving on to develop their next series of games on the PlayStation 2, Jak and Daxter. Mark Cerny created a pretty good working relationship between himself, Sony, Naughty Dog, and Insomniac, and wanted to continue working with them, unbound by the restrictions of contracts. Now, how does this all relate to Crash Bandicoot Worlds? Universal Interactive Studios wanted to bring Crash Bandicoot to the 6th generation of consoles, and decided to bring on Mark Cerny to design the game, since at this point he's had a hand in every Crash Bandicoot game up to this point. When he started pitching the open world exploration concept, Universal got nervous. This was around the time Universal enlisted the help of Traveler's Tales to develop the game. Universal was scared that if they strayed too far from the Crash Bandicoot level-by-level formula, that the game would lose all appeal. This already bummed out Mark Cerny, but the nail in the coffin was when Universal Studios severely cut the budget of the Interactive Studios division, leading to a bunch of layoffs. This completely rubbed Mark Cerny the wrong way and led to a complete falling out between the studio and the designer. Mark Cerny left the project, and with Mark Cerny, so went the concept of Crash Bandicoot Worlds, in favor of a game more like Crash 3. This 12 months of rushed development led to the creation of Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex. So why was Crash Bandicoot Worlds cancelled? Corporate drama. Honestly, even though this game would have been the fourth mainline Crash game to come out, marking its debut on the PlayStation 2, the only thing that I think would have changed would be that Crash's fourth entry would have been a better game. In-universe though, a lot of the beats that this game would explore would be explored in future titles. Hell, this may even be a coincidence since these games were being developed by 2 different studios, but Crash Nitro Kart, being made by Vicarious Visions, uses the formula of traveling to different planets to fight different aliens as well. The only difference here being that you're racing instead of platforming. Crash goes pretty intergalactic as the series goes on, and we'll even see him go across dimensions soon enough. The rushed development of Wrath of Cortex was definitely a detriment to how the game turned out, and honestly, the move to make the game more similar to Crash 3 was the wrong one. An open world Crash game would have made the game stand out as an evolution of the franchise, instead of seeming like it's trying to copy the formula created by the previous entry. That concludes today's episode of Releasing the Unreleased. What did you guys think of Crash Bandicoot Worlds? Do you think it would have been better than Wrath of Cortex, or do you think it would have met with the same trouble? Put your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what series you want me to cover next on Releasing the Unreleased. We also have merch in the description below, so if you want to enrich your gameplay experience, I'd take a look. I'd also like to give a special shout out to Andrews Retro Games and Daniel Hawkins for being the most well-esteemed guests of them all. If you want a special shout out in every video, as well as getting these videos as soon as I'm done editing them, as opposed to when they're scheduled to come out, make sure you become a channel member because it is 100% the best way for you to support the channel. And with that, I'm Bottles, and I bid you, my well-esteemed guests, adieu.